In this demo, we're going to look at how state-based development could proceed. So I have my project here that's set up in SSDT. This is a database project that I created from a new project as a database project. And this will allow me to do state-based development. So I've imported my database. I'm actually linked to this worldwide importers database. And so you see that the tables and views are similar to what we see here. So if I were to look at the application tables, those would be similar to the ones that I have here as well. So let's make some changes. Let's actually make a state-based change. So I'll come down to the sales table and I'll pick, say, the order lines table. And when I look at this, I get the designer, I see all the schema, I get the code, the foreign keys, and everything that's there. Let me add an item here. So one of the things that could happen with orders is that they get returned. So let's add an is return item. Typically a negative quantity is a return, but some people put in positive quantities. So let's just add a simple flag that will tell us if this is a return, and we'll save this and close it. Now I want to add a view actually to this same schema. So I want to add a view, and I want to call this the returned order lines view. And I'm going to put this not in DBO, but I'm going to put this in sales. And we're going to say where, and we want to change this from order lines, where is return equals 1. So that's a very quick view, and I'll save that, and I've got this view here. Now, those changes don't exist in my database. They've only been made inside of my schema model. So if I were to go to the order lines table and I were to look at the columns, I don't have that here. And certainly if I were to change this to views and refresh this, I don't have the returns order lines in the sales schema. So how do I get those there? Well, in a schema-based world, I've made a couple of changes. I want to deploy those. Perhaps some time has passed and I don't remember exactly what I've changed. So I have the option to do a schema compare. Now the source is set by default to my project because I right-clicked here. And then for my target, I can select a target. In this case, I'll pick my Wide World Importers database, and I'll select that so I can see that's in my local DB instance. I could certainly switch these if I wanted to. And let's run the comparison. And when I do this comparison, the Visual Studio Database project is looking at all the objects in the schema model and all the objects in the database, and it's coming up with the differences. In this case, we can see that to a table, I have an edit represented by the pencil icon. And if I select that, what I'll see in the bottom is the version control view, where I can see here's the code in my schema model on the left, here's the code in my database on the right, and I'm missing that column. My view is a new view. It's a plus, so it's an add. So I have the view in my schema model, but not in my database itself. In a state-based world, I might have many changes here that are all listed. They would be put together in terms of the type of change, whether they're changes, adds, or deletes. And then when I'm ready, I can say update. So when I update the target being the one on the right, all those changes will get moved over. The SSDT database project will determine what the changes need to be, what the actual script needs to be, which I could see if I wanted to, and then it'll execute that. And once that's done, I could compare this again. I should see no differences at this point because all the changes would have been moved from the schema model to the other model. And if in fact I were to refresh this, I have sales.returned line items. And if I were to look at my tables, my order line table, and refresh the column list, we'll see that isReturn exists there. That's an example of how we would perform state-based development.